Okay, so I do not believe that the person who accused James Charles of making unwanted advances towards them, despite them being straight, is actually a victim of James Charles. I think that in reality he's instead just a clout chaser. Now this is gonna be a hugely unpopular opinion and there's gonna be a lot of people attacking me for this, just based off the video title alone. So if you do end up agreeing with me by the end of the video, please drop a like, cause this video is gonna receive a bunch of hate for sure. Alright, so on January 6th, this guy over here actually dropped a TikTok video which then blew up on multiple platforms, accusing James Charles of inappropriately coming on to him despite him being straight, and despite being aware of his sexuality, he apparently just kept on flirting with him regardless. Now, before we actually get into why I don't fully believe this guy, let me say this to just be clear. I don't fucking like James Charles, alright? This guy is just objectively not a very smart or good person. He's behaved horribly in the past, because he did get exposed a lot of times for talking to underage boys. Now in fairness, he did not actively seek out underage boys to flirt with, but he constantly flirted with a lot of his fans without verifying their age on platforms like Instagram and TikTok. So like he would go on TikTok and just DM a bunch of people and some of them would be like 16, which by the way, I don't have a problem with content creators flirting with their fans as long as it's two consenting adults, because I don't really believe in this creator-fan power dynamic is abused type of narrative. But since James Charles did not verify that these people he was flirting with were actually adults, I think he's overall a pretty irresponsible guy. And he's possibly predatory, and I'm saying possibly because if he knew some of these people he was flirting with were actually 16 and he kept on flirting, it would be predatory in my opinion. But if he didn't know they were 16, it would just be incredibly irresponsible. But he wouldn't be a predator in my eyes, even though a lot of people disagree with me on that, which is why I'm also kind of split on this situation as a whole. Now, why am I saying this? It's cause I wanna emphasize that James Charles is not a good person, right? But still, just cause I don't like him, that doesn't mean I'm gonna automatically be on the other side with every controversy he gets into. And I think that it's important to remain fair and objective here. Alright, so this is the first screenshot the accuser shows, and I already have a massive problem with this. So everybody that covered this situation took this at face value and just ran with it. Especially these tea and gossip kind of channels, you know, like T-Spill, Angelica Oles, Paige Christie, Spill Sash. All of these people are just like, yeah, this is exactly what happened here. James Charles just randomly DM'd this person asking for an age check. Now, I know why they are doing this. Painting James Charles as a predator fits their narrative, and they are making a fair amount of views by doing this, because there is a pretty sizable James Charles hater community out there, which was largely built up by people like Ethan Klein and Def Noodles, sometimes even also through false reporting. But some of these people are just taking it too far, like this video for example. Based on this thumbnail, you would think James fucking like abused a kid or something. Like obviously these people are gonna be extremely biased against James Charles here, and I'm just over here looking at this, you know, from a normal person's viewpoint that's not involved, and I'm just like, yo, this is not even remotely verifiable. Do you seriously expect me to believe that James Charles, 24 million sub YouTuber James Charles, is just going around on TikTok randomly DMing every attractive guy he notices? Yeah right, the only way I would believe that is if the accuser actually went back and showed me the full DMs right from the top, and then confirming that this was actually the first message that he sent. Now, what I believe is more likely to have happened here is that the accuser DM'd James Charles first, and this was James Charles' response to his DM. Because that would make a lot more sense to me, because if James Charles actually DM'd all these people asking for their age, I think that would have been exposed like ages ago. Like that would have been exposed already. And also, I just don't believe that he would be this stupid. Like, this is the guy that reversed the biggest sub loss in YouTube history and completely obliterated the person accusing him a couple of years ago. And now you're telling me the same person is just wandering around TikTok DMing every attractive person there? Yeah, like there's no way. I honestly just don't think that he would be this stupid. But on that point, I might be wrong. If this guy is able to show the full chat logs and confirm that this was indeed the first message sent, then I will admit, like, yeah, I'm wrong here. But I doubt that's gonna happen anytime soon, because I think he's a clout chaser. Alright, so he then shows more screenshots, and this is where any normal person would hopefully be like, okay, stop. You claim to be a straight guy, yet you are out here having spicy conversations with objectively one of the most famous gay people on earth. That's like me talking to Elton John like for weeks on end, flirting with him. At what point are we going to acknowledge that this does not make any sense, except if the accuser here was purposely leading James Charles on in order to be able to expose him later on? Because what straight person talks for weeks on end with James Charles and is then surprised that he thinks you might be interested in him? This makes no sense. If some random woman texted Jojo Siwa every day, and then after a couple of weeks Jojo Siwa wanted to start a relationship with that woman, and the woman was like, whoa, what the hell, I'm not lesbian, why are you trying to make me gay? Everyone universally, I guarantee, would be like, okay, you spent weeks flirting with Jojo Siwa, you were obviously leading her to believe that you were interested in her. But here, since it's James Charles, people are just like, yeah, this poor guy was flirting with James Charles for weeks and he was almost forced into being gay by James Charles. James Charles must be such a monster. Like, no, he obviously led him on purpose so he could later expose him for clout. To me, it's clear as day, but for some reason, people just don't understand this simple concept. Now, don't get me wrong here, there's definitely something going on with James Charles. Like, there's just gotta be something wrong with him, because the fact that this guy has to go on TikTok to go and try and find a boyfriend, all while owning a 24 million sub YouTube channel of worldwide renown, is insane. Like, there's no way this guy should be forced to simp for random men on TikTok. Like, he should be able to get in a relationship through status, and the fact that he is not means that he's probably like not a good person at heart, or at least he's someone that's very hard to be around, I would imagine, especially on a love type relationship basis. And his weird type of behavior can be seen in some of the screenshots, like this one for example, where he describes his requirement for a boyfriend. But then again, how are you as a straight person getting these messages from James Charles and you're just like continuing to text with him without being like, yo, I'm not actually gay, dude? Like, if this was a genuine interaction, he would have told James Charles that he's straight right there and then just stop flirting with him. But instead he posted a screenshot on TikTok and Twitter 3 weeks later. So yeah, I just don't trust this guy. But like, James Charles is still like an absolute weirdo. I mean, luckily for me, I shave my armpits, so I'm not actually in danger of being harassed by James Charles, but some of y'all might be. But then again, like, there's even more weird stuff with James Charles, because there's this video, for example.
So if I'm being like, oh my god, David, you're annoying, over text, right? You don't know if I'm saying like, oh my god, David, you're being annoying. Or like, oh my god, David, you're being annoying. Or like, oh my god, David, you're being fucking annoying. Because all three of those are completely different, like, emotions that you cannot see through text. You only get to actually experience those through a FaceTime call or through being in person. Even over the phone, you still miss out on things because you're missing somebody's facial expressions, right? So because you refuse to hang out with people or because you refuse to FaceTime, you're not allowing people to actually get to know you as like a human being. And that's a massive, massive problem whenever it comes to being in a relationship with somebody.
So this is some fairly awkward behavior from James Charles, obviously, but I don't see how this video makes him a predator at all. I mean, perhaps it's because of this claim here on the bottom, but I don't believe this without there being some sort of evidence for it. It's like, again, you record this video, but then after he sends you inappropriate pictures, something that would be way more damning for James Charles, you just stop recording and don't actually save them. That doesn't make any sense for me, which is why I don't believe the accuser here. Now, I do understand that all of these T channels took this accusation here once again and just ran with it, but I'm just thinking like a normal human being here. Like, if a video makes you so uncomfortable that you have to put out a second phone and record it, why would you not record the inappropriate pictures he sent afterwards too then? Like, that seems incredibly suspicious to me, which is why overall I think James Charles is definitely some sort of weird guy with some very strange fetishes, but it's not enough to paint him as a predator for me. And I hate these people that come out on Twitter and TikTok and try to be like, oh, I was the victim of this YouTuber. Like, you are taking the piss out of actual victims. Like, this pisses me off genuinely. But yeah, before I can say that James Charles is a predator, I gotta see some evidence that he was willingly talking to underage boys for that. And also, like I said, the accuser is obviously not the victim. Like, you claim to be straight but flirted with James Charles for weeks. Yeah, no way you didn't lure him in so you could make some clout-hungry TikTok out of this. But anyway, that's just my take. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. Drop a like in this video, and yeah, I'll see you around.